yourself. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a moment where you looked in the mirror and felt like you were built for more? Not in a prideful way, not in some loud ego, I'm better than, I mean that quiet voice. The one that whispers when the world gets still. The one that says, there's another level in you. Not someday. Not when things get easier. Right now. Yourself. But here's the problem. Most people don't fail because they're not talented. They fail because they keep competing with the wrong person. Yourself. They're trying to beat them when the real game is beating who they were yesterday. Yourself. This ain't about showing the world what you've done. It's about discovering what you haven't even tapped into yet. And if that voice in you has ever said, self, you were made for more, then buckle up, because today we're not chasing dreams. We're chasing down the version of you that you haven't met yet, but you will. If you're willing to outwork yesterday, yourself, and find out what you're truly capable of, you're in a race, but only against the person you were yesterday. Let that sink in for a moment. Not against your co-workers, not against your friends, not against the people you follow online. Just you. See, most people are out here running the wrong race. Yourself. They're burning themselves out trying to keep up with someone else's pace. Chasing someone else's timeline. Yourself. Comparing their behind the scenes to somebody else's highlight reel. But that's not your race. That's not your lane. And it's certainly not your purpose. You've got to understand something powerful. The only person you need to beat is the one you were yesterday. Think about it. Yesterday, maybe you were tired, self. Maybe you let the day slip through your fingers. Maybe you had a plan and didn't follow through. It happens. We all fall short. But here's where the magic begins. Today is a new opportunity. A clean slate. And the only goal. Be just a little better than yesterday's version of you. That's it. You don't need to run 10 miles today if you ran 2 yesterday. But maybe today, you run 3. You don't need to close 5 deals if yesterday you made 1. But today, make 2. You don't need to change the world overnight. Just change your effort. Change your intention. Yourself. I remember reading about this young man. Let's call him Marcus. He grew up in a rough neighborhood, surrounded by distractions, bad influences, and not a lot of hope. School wasn't his thing. He barely passed. Every time he tried to focus, there was some drama pulling him back. He had no real direction. But one day, he heard something that flipped a switch in him. He heard someone say, yourself. You don't need to become great all at once. You just need to become a little better than the man you were yesterday. That hit him like a ton of bricks. So what did Marcus do? He set one small goal. Wake up 1 hour earlier. That's it. The next day he did it. Didn't feel good. He did it. But the day after, he used that hour to read just a chapter. The day after that, he used it to journal. Then he added exercise. Yourself. Then he stopped hanging with people who weren't helping him grow. One small improvement after the next. No fireworks, no applause, no Instagram posts. Just a quiet, yourself, version of himself that wanted to stay the same. Fast forward a few years. Marcus owns his own business. He speaks in schools, giving young people the same message that woke him up. And every time he steps on stage, he says the same thing. I'm not competing with anyone but who I was yesterday. That's powerful. Because when you start living like that, comparison fades, pressure drops, and clarity shows up. You stop measuring your worth by someone else's success. You start focusing on your own growth, yourself. But let me be real with you. Beating yesterday's version of you is not easy. It's uncomfortable. It means being honest. It means saying, I didn't do my best yesterday. I could have gone harder. I could have been more present. I could have made a different choice. That kind of self-accountability, that's rare. That's grown man and grown woman stuff. And most people avoid it because it forces you to look in the mirror. But guess what? That mirror, yourself, that's where the truth lies. You can't lie to it. You can't spin it. It shows you exactly who you are. Yourself. So when you look in that mirror each morning, don't just check your hair or your makeup or your fit. Look in your eyes. Ask yourself, am I better than I was yesterday? And if the answer is no, that's your wake-up call. Not to beat yourself up. Not to feel shame, yourself. But to go back into the world and do something about it. Because the truth is, growth doesn't require perfection. It just requires direction. And that direction is forward. Always. One more rep. one more call, one more act of courage. That's how champions are made. You don't need a crowd to clap for you, yourself. You don't need a medal. You don't need overnight success. You just need the discipline to show up again and again and keep pushing that line forward. Self, the line between who you were and who you could be. And that line, it's drawn every day by the choices you make. When you hit snooze or get up, when you scroll or study, when you complain or commit, and every time you choose the better path, even when it's uncomfortable, yourself. Even when it's boring, you're lapping the old you. You're leaving that version in the dust. Yourself. Now, you might not see the results right away. You might not feel the growth, but it's there. It's happening. Every rep, every choice, yourself, every uncomfortable step forward. And soon people will start to notice. They'll say, you've changed, and you'll smile. Self. Because they don't know how many versions of yourself you had to outgrow just to stand where you're standing now. Yourself. Yesterday's best is today's baseline. Let that roll around in your mind for a second. Because too many people, yourself, they hit a goal once, and then they park there, they climb one hill, and think they've reached the mountain. They get one win and start coasting like the game is over. But it's not. Yesterday's success, that's great. Be proud of it. Celebrate it. Smile about it. But then, get back to work. Why? Because what you did yesterday, that's not your limit. That's just proof of what's possible. And if you could do that yourself, then what else can you do? That's the question. See, yesterday's best might have taken everything you had at that moment. It might have pushed you, stretched you, yourself. You might have finished that workout gasping for air. You might have studied all night for that exam. You might have made that sales call shaking, hands sweating. But today you're stronger. Today you're wiser. Today you've got new ground to cover. It's like lifting weights. The first time you bench press 135 pounds, it feels like a mountain. Your arms shake. Your form is ugly. You barely make it. But you did it. Now you know it can be done. So what do? Next session, you come back. And you don't stay there. You don't say, well, yourself, I already lifted that, so I'm done. No, you add 5 pounds. Maybe 10. Because now that old heavy weight, that's your new baseline. Yourself. And the same is true in life. That job interview you crushed, that's your new standard. That disciplined week you just had, that's your floor. Not your ceiling. Yourself. That level of focus, that level of effort, that version of you who showed up strong, that's where you begin today. I once heard about a young woman named Naomi. She was quiet. She, the kind of person who always sat in the back of the room, never spoke up, never volunteered. But one day in college, she pushed herself to raise her hand in class. Just once. Just to answer a simple question. Heart pounding, voice trembling. But she did it. Now, herself. That moment might seem someone else, even forgettable. That was her Everest. And guess what? That became her baseline. From that moment on, herself, Naomi challenged herself every day, not to be better than someone else, but to be bolder than she was the day before. One question turned into two. Self. Two turned to giving a short presentation. A short presentation turned into leading a project. Eventually she became a speaker. Standing on stages, self, holding microphones, delivering talks with confidence she didn't even know she had inside her. But it all started with one scared decision. One stretch. Yourself. One moment of doing her best, and then deciding that best wasn't going to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. It was going to be her new normal. Yourself. That's what this is about. Raising your normal. Lifting your standard. Because if yesterday's best was the highest you've ever flown, yourself, then that means you can fly that high. And if you can fly that high, what's stopping you from going higher? Now, I get it. It's tempting to rest. Yourself. It's tempting to say, I've done enough. It's tempting to coast after a win. To let your foot off the gas. But comfort is a silent killer. You stop pushing. You stop growing. And that's not you. You weren't built to plateau. You were built to elevate yourself. Every time you level up, the old version of you becomes proof, not perfection. Your past victories don't define you. They refine you. You did great yesterday. Now what are you going to do today? Are you going to match it? Beat it? Stretch further? Go longer? Dig deeper? Because here's what I know. There's another level in you. One that yesterday didn't even touch. A level of focus. A level of resilience. A level of strength. Yourself. You just haven't tapped it yet. And you won't find it by looking back yourself. You'll find it by deciding right now that what you did before was not your finish line. It was your foundation yourself. And when you build on that foundation, brick by brick, day by day, suddenly you're standing on something solid, something powerful yourself. Your best days stop being lucky days. They become habits. They become your rhythm. They become your reputation. People start looking at you different. Self. They start wondering how you keep showing up like that, day after day. They don't see the mindset. They don't see the quiet decision. The one where you whispered to yourself, that was good, but I can do better. That whisper, that's the difference between average and excellence. Self. That's the gap between once and always. And the beauty of it all is that it never stops. There's always more in the tank. Always another level. Self. Always another test, another climb, another part of yourself that's waiting to be revealed through effort. Not talent, not luck, not timing. Effort. Yourself. Yesterday's best was a moment, but today is movement. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Show up anyway. That one hits hard, doesn't it? Because let's be honest, if most of us only acted when we felt like it, we'd still be stuck in the same place we were 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. Self. And that's the trap. We wait on motivation. We wait on the mood. We wait to be inspired before we take action. But here's the truth. Real growth, self. It doesn't come from feelings. It comes from discipline. Discipline is cold. It's neutral. It doesn't check your mood. It doesn't care if you slept well, yourself, or if it's raining outside, or if you just don't feel like it today. Discipline shows up every day. No matter what it says, you said you were going to do this, so we're doing it. There was a man. His name was Elijah. Regular guy. Nothing flashy. Worked a normal job. Yourself. Lived in a small apartment. Didn't have a lot of money or connections. But he made a decision. He wanted to run a marathon. Never ran more than 2 miles in his life. Didn't even own proper running shoes. But he set the goal. And more importantly, he made a promise to himself. No matter how I feel, I'm running every morning. No excuses. Just in the first few days, brutal. His knees hurt. He was slow. He questioned himself with every step. Then the weather turned cold. Whined. Sore muscles. And every voice in his head was screaming, just take today off. You deserve it. You're tired. You'll go tomorrow. But Elijah didn't ask his body how it felt. He didn't wait for motivation to magic kick in. He just laced up and ran. Because discipline, true discipline, doesn't knock on your door. It doesn't show up wrapped in fireworks and motivational music. It's silent. It's lonely. Yourself. It's often invisible. But it's the only thing that will get you to the finish line. See, anyone can move when it's easy. Anyone can work when the sun's shining and life feels good. But what about when your energy's low? What about when you're stressed, frustrated, uninspired? Yourself. That's the moment where most people stop. But the great ones, that's the moment they start. Because they know, this is the test. This is where growth lies. In that tension, in that resistance, in that moment where your mind says no, and you say yes anyway. That's when something shifts inside you. You stop negotiating with your feelings. You stop giving your mood the microphone. And you start building mental armor. Self. Because here's what most folks don't get. Discipline is like a muscle. It gets stronger every time you use it. Yourself. Every time you act without waiting to feel ready. You're training yourself for the days when life won't be fair. When it won't be fun. Yourself. When it won't be easy. And those days are coming, whether you're prepared or not. But if you've built discipline, you'll be ready. I remember a high school teacher, Ms. Fletcher, strict, stern, always on time. People thought she was tough for no reason. But her students, they thrived. Because she didn't teach from emotion. She taught from standard. One time, a student came in late, made an excuse. Told her he missed the bus, had a bad morning, wasn't feeling it. She looked him in the eye and said, your feelings are real, but they don't excuse your responsibility. Yourself. Life won't wait on your emotion. That stuck with me, because that's what discipline understands. Life keeps moving, with or without you. So you either rise to the occasion, or you fall behind. Let's bring it closer to home. Yourself. How many times have you known what you needed to do, and still didn't do it? How many mornings have you hit snooze? How many days have you told yourself, I'll start tomorrow? How many workouts skipped? How many ideas left on the shelf because you weren't in the mood? We've all been there. But discipline yourself. It's not about perfection. It's not about being robotic. It's about deciding that your goals matter more than your momentary emotions. That your vision is worth the discomfort. That your dream deserves consistency, not convenience. There's something raw and powerful about a person who moves without applause, who trains in the dark, who builds in silence. No cameras, no claps, no cheering section. Yourself. Just effort. That's where confidence comes from. You can't fake it. You can't shortcut it. It comes from knowing, deep down, that you show up when it's hard, that you don't fold when it's uncomfortable, that you can trust yourself to follow through. That's what separates the average from the elite talent. Not luck. Discipline. The quiet fire inside you that says, I'm tired, but I'm still going. I'm scared, but I'm still trying. I don't feel like it, but I'm showing up. And every time you honor that voice, you're becoming someone stronger, someone sharper, someone who doesn't just talk about it, but lives it. You become that rare breed. Yourself. The one who finishes what they start. The one who moves even when it hurts. Because the truth is, discipline is not a punishment. It's a pathway to self-respect, to freedom, to greatness. And once you tap into it, once you taste what it feels like to follow through no matter what, you'll never want to go back. There is no growth in comfort. None. Yourself. You may not like hearing that, but it's the truth. And deep down, you already know it. See, comfort feels good. It's safe, it's familiar, it's predictable. Yourself. But here's the thing, nothing extraordinary ever happens there. Nothing about comfort will stretch you. Nothing about comfort will demand your full potential. Comfort whispers, just stay here. Comfort says, you've done enough. Comfort tells you, you don't need to try that hard. And if you listen too long, it becomes a cage. A soft, quiet prison where dreams go to die. You ever seen a lion raised in captivity? It still looks powerful. Still has the roar. Still has the teeth. Yourself. But you put it in the wild, and it doesn't know how to hunt anymore. Why? Because it got comfortable. It got fed every day. It never had to chase. It never had to struggle. So what happened? That edge, that fire, it faded. And the same thing happens to us. When we stop challenging ourselves, we start shrinking. Not all at once, but slowly, gradually. Our ambitions start settling. Our standards start slipping. Our dreams start collecting dust. And we tell ourselves, it's fine. I'm okay. I'm doing enough. But let me tell you something real. Enough will never satisfy the part of you that knows there's more. More to learn. More to. You ever had that feeling? That itch? That tension? When you're doing fine, yourself. Life looks good from the outside. But something inside you is restless. That's your potential knocking. Yourself. Not to make you uncomfortable for no reason, but to wake you up. Because the version of you that you dream about becoming, yourself, that version is on the other side of discomfort. You want more strength. Go to the gym and lift until it burns. You want more confidence. Step into the rooms that scare you. You want more skill. Sit with the frustration of learning something you don't yet understand. Yourself. There is no growth in staying where it's easy. You've got to risk something. You've got to move toward the edge of your ability. Over and over again. Yourself. Think about anyone you admire. Athlete, artist, entrepreneur, leader. None of them got there by playing it safe. They put themselves in uncomfortable, high-stakes situations on purpose. Why? Because they knew that's where the transformation lies. I heard a story once about a woman named Talia. She was working a job that paid the bills, decent hours, stable schedule, good benefits. But every day she felt this quiet pull towards something else. Yourself. She had a gift for storytelling, loved to write. But writing wasn't safe. Writing didn't come with insurance. Writing was risky. So what did she do? For years, she stayed in her comfort zone, told herself she'd start that blog later, write that book someday, maybe when things calmed down. But guess what? Someday never comes. Yourself. And one day, she sat down, looked herself in the mirror and said, if I don't get uncomfortable now, yourself, I'll still be sitting in this same chair 10 years from now, wondering what could have been. That night, she wrote her first blog post. It wasn't perfect. It didn't go viral, but it was honest. It was hers. And more importantly, it was the beginning of her becoming. She wrote every day after work. posted every week, slowly built a community. Eventually, she left that job. Now she speaks. She teaches. She inspires. And she says, the best thing I ever did yourself was get uncomfortable on purpose. You hear that? On purpose. Because if you wait for life to force you out of comfort, it will. But by then, it might be harder, more painful. But when you choose it, when you say, I'm going to lean into this fear, I'm going to stretch yourself, I'm going to walk into this fire, not because I'm fearless, but because I'm ready to grow. That's when the shift happens. Discomfort becomes your teacher. Struggle becomes your training ground. Failure becomes feedback. And every time you push through, you realize you're stronger than you thought. You didn't die. You didn't break. You adapted. You got sharper. And the beautiful part is yourself. It becomes addictive. Not the pain, but the growth. Not the fear, but the beating of it. You start chasing challenge yourself. Not because it's fun, but because it makes you better. So let me ask you something. Where have you gotten too comfortable? Where have you stopped pushing yourself? What dream have you put on the shelf because it was too hard? What conversation have you avoided because it might get awkward? Yourself. What goal have you delayed because it's just not the right time? That's your zone. That's your edge. And you've got to lean in yourself. You've got to step into that resistance because everything you're becoming is waiting right there. Not in your comfort zone. Not in your routine. Sweaty, uncertain space where growth lives. That's where the new you is being built. Brick by brick, rep by rep, step by step, yourself. And the more time you spend in that place, the more powerful you become. Comparison is a thief. A smooth-talking, confidence-stealing thief. It sneaks in quiet, yourself. Doesn't kick the door down. No. It slides in through a crack in your mind when you're scrolling through someone else's highlight reel. Feeling good. Until you see it. Their post. Their success. Their big moment. And suddenly, you're behind. You're not enough. Self. You should be doing more. Should be farther. Should look better. Should have made it by now. That's how comparison talks to you. In whispers that feel like facts. Yourself. But let me tell you something loud and clear. Your race is not their race. Your path is not their path. And their timeline has nothing to do with yours. Self. You've got to stop measuring your worth with someone else's ruler. Because what you don't see in that photo is the pain they had to go through, yourself. The pressure behind that smile, the insecurity behind that perfect caption. And what you really don't see is how often they're comparing themselves to someone else. It's a cycle. And nobody wins. You want peace. You want progress. Then run your own race. I remember a young man named Malik. Talented musician, yourself. Passionate, full of heart. But every time he'd write something good, he'd stop halfway through and delete it. Why? Because he'd start thinking about someone else. Self. Some other artist with more followers, more streams, more success. And he'd say, self, what's the point? What I'm doing isn't even close to that. But one day his mentor sat him down and asked, do you think they were always that good? Do you think they started at the top? Or do you think they built it, self, brick by brick? Just like you are. Malik realized he was trying to compare his chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. That's not fair. That's not real. That's not helpful. And here's the crazy part. The more you compare, the more you paralyze yourself. You stop creating. You stop moving. You stop showing up. Because you're so busy watching them. You forget to be you. Let me tell you something true. There's only one of you on this earth. Nobody else has your fingerprints. Nobody else has your story. Nobody else sees the world the way you do. And if you don't honor that, we all miss out. Because while you're trying to be them, nobody's being you. You ever seen someone run a race, but spend the whole time looking sideways? They lose focus. And sometimes they trip. That's what comparison does. It distracts, it distorts yourself. It drains your energy from where it actually matters, your lane. So when that voice shows up, and it will, when it says, look at them, yourself, they're doing better than you. You answer back, good for them. Now I'm getting back to work. Because this isn't a competition. It's a calling. Self, your calling is to answer it boldly, without apology. You've got a mission on this earth. And it doesn't require you to be perfect. Self, it doesn't require you to have what they have. It just requires you to show up as you. Let me tell you another story. A woman named Priya. She was a speaker, not famous, not flashy, but when she spoke, people leaned in because her words came from truth, from pain, from experience. But for years, she let comparison hold her back. She thought, I don't speak like her. I don't have the presence he has. My story's not big enough. So she stayed silent. Until one day, someone came up to her after a small event and said, your words helped me breathe again. That moment changed everything. Yourself. Because she realized, someone else's shine doesn't dim your light. We don't need another version of them. We need the real version of you. Flaws and all. Scars and all. Work in progress and all. Because your journey, with all its twists, turns, highs and lows, matters. Yourself. You ever plant a seed and dig it up every day to see if it's growing? Of course not. But that's what comparison makes us do. We question ourselves constantly. We rush the process. But what's growing under the surface takes time, takes faith, takes consistency. Yourself. You don't get the fruit without the patience. You don't get the reward without the resilience. And here's the best part. When you focus on your path, the comparisons lose power. You start noticing your own progress. You start appreciating your own rhythm. You start building momentum that belongs to you, yourself. And that's when you stop needing validation. Because you've got evidence. You've got history, yourself. You've got proof that you're becoming exactly who you're supposed to be. So don't let someone else's chapter distract you from writing your own self. Don't let their lane make you forget the power in yours. Every step you take, it matters. Every small win, it counts. Yourself. Every moment you show up, even when it's hard, even when it's quiet, even when nobody's watching, it builds. And one day, someone will look at you and think, I wish I could be where they are. But you'll know the truth, that you didn't get there by copying anyone. You got there by trusting your process, by honoring your pace, by staying in your lane and owning it. You are not done. I don't care how far you've come. Yourself. I don't care how much you've already achieved. I don't care how many times people have clapped for you and said, wow, listen to me. You are not done. Because the moment you start thinking, this is it, the moment you start resting on what you've already built, yourself, the moment you start playing defense, that's the moment your growth begins to die. You were not built for average. Yourself. You were not designed to hit one milestone and coast for the rest of your life. You were made to expand, to evolve, to outgrow the version of you that existed yesterday. Yes, even if yesterday was a win, even if yesterday was your best, even if yesterday was record-breaking. Because guess what? Yesterday doesn't care. It's gone. It's in the books. And today is asking a question. What now? Who are you going to be now? See, people love the mountaintop moments, the recognition, the you did it celebrations. But what separates the good from the great is what you do after the applause fades. Yourself. After the goal is reached, after the medal's hanging on your wall, do you keep climbing? Do you stay hungry? Do you look in the mirror and say, that was good, but it's not my limit? Because real power, real legacy comes from that relentless forward motion. That mindset that says, yourself, I celebrate, but I don't settle. But I'm not finished. I met a man once, Robert, started a company from his garage. No funding. No investors, just grit, passion, and a dream. 10 years later, it was a multi-million-dollar business. People called him a genius. Called him an overnight success. It's yourself. Which, of course, it wasn't. But you know what struck me most? It wasn't the company. It wasn't the money. It was that every morning, Robert woke up at 5 a.m., not because he had to, but because he wanted to. I asked him once, why are you still pushing so hard? You've already won. He looked at me and said, self, if I stop stretching, I start shrinking. If I stop building, I start fading. And I didn't come this far just to coast. I came this far to find out how far I can really go. That hit me. Because that's the mindset. That's the fire that separates people who do well from people who become legends. Yourself. It's the belief that you haven't even scratched the surface of what you're capable of. Yourself. It's the understanding that yesterday's success doesn't give you permission to stop. It gives you a foundation to build higher. Yourself. So let me ask you, are you still reaching? Are you still learning? Are you still pushing the edge of who you are and what you can become? Yourself. Or have you let comfort start creeping in? You tell yourself, I'm doing pretty good. You start coasting just a little. You stop asking the hard questions. Self, you stop setting the scary goals. You start playing not to lose instead of playing to win. Be honest, self. Because if you want to discover what you're truly capable of, you've got to keep walking past the finish line. Yourself. You've got to train like you're still in the fight. Create like you've got something to prove. Dream like you're just getting started. Yourself. Because here's what's real. The next level of you, it doesn't live in yesterday's effort. It lives in today's decision. The decision to stretch, to show up, yourself, to outwork the person you were, not because you hate that version, but because you respect it. You respect the grind that got you here, yourself. You honor the progress you've made, but you also understand that version of you was built to be outgrown. You're not here to maintain. You're here to multiply your influence, your capacity, and the crazy part, yourself. Most people never even get close to what they're truly capable of. Not because they weren't talented, but because they stopped before the breakthrough. They hit good enough and parked the car, put it in neutral, turned the engine off. But that's not you. That can't be you, yourself. Because deep down, you know there's more. You can feel it. That tension, that calling. You don't need to explain it to anybody. You don't need to justify it. Yourself. But you do need to answer it. Because the person you could become, they're not waiting in the past. They're waiting your next effort. So don't stop now. Don't get comfortable at the halfway point. Don't let done enough be the reason you never become great. Keep showing up. Keep climbing, self. Keep asking more of yourself, not because you're not proud, but because you know you're not done. You're just getting started, self. And what's ahead of you is greater than anything behind you.